What's up, everybody? Welcome to Movie Community College. Look at this halo just shining down. I gotta ask all my Indian friends, auspicious or inauspicious that a light is just shining down from the heavens upon me? I would like to just say thank you. We have just started Patreon, and we got two Patreon users. One's asked to remain anonymous. The other one is Shabazz is his name. He's an Indian from Canada. He also goes by Joog. And so I just want to say thank you so much, Shabazz, and I appreciate the love and support from you. That's awesome. It really is. And I also want to let everybody know that I'm going to be posting my new Ramyana reviews on Patreon. However, before you get mad, they're only going to be there for a period of time. It's kind of like a sneak peek, and then they'll come to YouTube. So you just have to be patient. Please join if you can. If you can't, I understand, man. That's no worries. We're in weird times right now, right? But I got a great video for you guys. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Namaste, Mitron. Welcome back to Movie Community College. मेरा नाम Tish है, the Warrior Queen.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, the professor, the co-protector. What is up? I got a video here for you. It is Michael Chen. Michael Chen is going to give you some things that you did not know about the Chinese army. Now, a couple of years ago, I reacted to this video by myself, and it's just very appropriate, I think, in the times that we're in right now.
I'm glad you told me who it was because our friends can't see what I'm looking at right now. I can only see part of the screen, and the part of his face that I see, it's just a small portion of his face. I thought this was going to be Leroy from FTD Facts, and I was going to lose my mind. So I'm really glad you told me it's not him. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's to say what's wrong? Demons,
Leroy.
Hell?
Seriously,
I'm not here to judge
Leroy,
anybody.
pick a side. Okay. Anyhow, here we go.
Hi, it's Mike Chen. China, otherwise known to the rest of the world as the sleeping giant, is one of the few developed nations with a massive armed force that dwarfs many of its Asian neighbors. Historically, China was a country that experienced invasions, civil wars, and rebellions that have tested its government's military and its capabilities to protect the interest and the security of the country. And in the 21st century, China has made remarkable strides in its seemingly non-stop efforts to modernize in order to go toe-to-toe with its Western counterparts. With no fewer than 2.3 million men and women in its armed forces and another 800,000 individuals in its reserves, China may have the numbers to intimidate. But there is a lot of controversy, and it raises the question of whether or not China's military is as strong as it seems. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 5 reasons why China's military may be weaker than we think. Number 5, weak foundations. In a report for Congress's bipartisan U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission, it revealed that China's military gains over the past decades have been impressive overall, and the People's Liberation Army is clearly become an increasingly professional and capable fighting force. However, despite these impressive strides, the report concludes that the PLA suffers from potentially serious weaknesses. These shortcomings could limit its ability to successfully conduct the information-centric integrated joint operations Chinese military strategists see as required to fight and win future wars. Written by China experts at the Rand Corporation, the report further states that knowing these vulnerabilities will be valuable to deter conflict or defeat China should war arise against the nation. Most of these institutional weaknesses include poor command structures, low quality personnel, and corruption in the ranks that also involve top officials in the military and the government. However, one of the main problems that were caused by this structural weakness is China's ability to conduct joint military operations with other countries like the US. This is partly due to its problems integrating advanced weaponry as well as conducting proper training for its personnel. To put this picture into perspective, the People's Liberation Army still conducts what is called long-distance maneuver training at speeds that are determined by how fast the next available cargo train can send its tank and other arms forward. In a world where mobilizing your troops and transportations by air, moving them by train is an integrated system that worked back in the First World War. Also, China may claim they have nuclear weapons, but with its questionable ability to introduce modern weapon systems, systems, it is a bit scary that they can push that shiny red button anytime by accident or worse. What's scarier is that the report details that Chinese armed forces is quite vulnerable to cyber attacks that could disrupt its informationized high technology from its aircrafts to its missiles. Number 4, confusing loyalties. It's common knowledge or common sense in most countries around the world that their armed forces are sworn to loyalty to their governments regardless of the nation's political affiliation or ideology. It's a different story with the Chinese military, however. According to the US Congressional Research Service, the People's Liberation Army is not a national army belonging to the state. Rather, it serves as the Communist Party's armed wing, which brings confusion because who then is considered as the country's official military? Top-ranking members of the PLA, especially its generals, are also members of the Communist Party. So in a nutshell, it would be as if members of the Republican and Democratic parties have their own armed forces. And from the very start of a PLA soldier's career, he is sworn to protect the Chinese Communist Party in the ideology that it stands for, not the constitution of the land and not China or its people. To say the least, the PLA may be seen as the world's largest guerrilla army because of a political bias that the members of the Chinese Communist Party strictly enforces. Also, the PLA is missing one of the most important characteristics of an armed force: joint command. This is when members of the military, Air Force, Navy, and Marines can work together when needed, as well as be able to know what the other branch is doing. In China, this is an important element missing in their structure. While there have been claims from Chinese media and some government agencies that a joint command system is being established in its military, other reports conflicted, saying the opposite. Without having a clear joint command system, it would be difficult in times of war or conflict for any military to communicate with each of its branches. And for a country with what's considered to be the world's largest standing army, lack of communication can spell disaster. Number 3, poorly equipped soldiers. To date, the Pentagon says that it cost about $17,500 to equip a single soldier of the US Armed Forces. This includes high-tech weapons, advanced gear, body armor, and all other bells and whistles. These guys mean serious business and they are dressed for the part. In China, however, due to the corruption within the PLA ranks in the Communist Party, their soldiers are not as fancy. According to reports, a single soldier of the Chinese military is allocated about $1,500 for his entire gear, and almost half of that amount goes to just his gun. And some of the equipment that they do have no longer even fit their new recruits. Even though China is now spending about $120 billion a year on their military, a large chunk of that spending goes to reconfiguring and modifying old or currently existing equipment that not only makes it unreliable for use, but also dangerous to the poor soldier who has to use it. To make matters even worse, among the permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, China reportedly has never even built their own aircraft carriers. What they do have are the ones that were purchased from the Ukraine and refurbished. And even that was almost immediately docked after launch due to engine failure. Number 2, not trained for combat. Every year, it is reported that the Chinese military recruits over 6 million individuals for training. While this may be a red flag to many nations, it would have been a lot more impressive and imposing if these recruits did not disappear after a month. According to an article by The Diplomat, the mystery warriors are really just college freshmen, first-year university students all across China participating in their mandatory training before the start of classes.
I know.
What's even more interesting is the method in which these students are trained. The Diplomat reports that these are compulsory lecture series in which students are introduced to national defense strategy and the latest in party doctrine. The last part of the statement seems to be the main meat of military training in the PLA and appears to be the only solid foundation in which recruits to the army are groomed. In China, soldiers seem to be trained less to become soldiers and more on becoming educated to keep their loyalties to the Communist Party. Political and ideological indoctrination comes first and foremost before, let's say, combat training or learning how to even use a rifle. PLA recruits are strictly required to devote 20 to 30% of their training on political and ideological indoctrination, studying party propaganda and revolutionary literature. And during induction training, this requirement is raised to 40% of their time. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you would like to see it, Chinese ground troops do not see a lot of action these days, and the last conflict that they have been directly part of was unfortunately the 1989 massacre at Tiananmen Square. And finally, number 1, low recruiting standards. Students wishing to join the PLA go through a rigorous physical and medical examination in order to determine if they are fit for battle. Unfortunately, and this is coming from the Army Recruitment Office of Beijing, 60% of students and applicants fail the exam. The problem, according to them, is that many many of these students and applicants are, well, overweight, underweight, weak, or have terrible eyesight. It was because of these reasons, among many others, that the government decided to lower the bar for recruitment. The standards were lowered in 2008 and then again in 2011. Whatever the underlying reason is, whether to meet a recruitment quota or create the illusion that the PLA steadily grows in number every single year, recruits that pass the terribly low standards are poorly equipped and not entirely at their top physical best to be in combat. So there you go, guys. One of the largest armed forces in the world might not be as intimidating as they seem. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching this video. I'll see you later.
Peace out.
What do you think? What do you have to say?
Well, a lot of this is stuff that you and I knew already, so not surprising, not new information. There was one point in the video where he said, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on where you're coming from. This is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. Right. They clearly rely on vast numbers of people to try to intimidate. But as we know, just from life in general, things that battles that we've read about in the Bible, different battles that Americans have fought in, it's not the size of your army that necessarily matters. If you're not well equipped and you're not properly trained and your loyalty is not to your homeland and your people as opposed to a strange tyrannical ideology, then you're going to lose. So yeah, I think it's a good thing that they're not equipped the way that that you would think they would be. I think anytime you have a tyrannical regime, doesn't matter what type of ism it is, fascism, communism, socialism, whatever the ism is, when that's what you're fighting for is an aberrant ideology, you're going to lose. Flat out.
What it reminds me of is if you remember when Desert Shield became Desert Storm, and Saddam was warning how he has this Republican Guard who they're going to kill everybody.
Right.
They're going to kill everybody, and they began to surrender by the thousands.
Right.
And we had a friend. Who was a dental hygienist
in the army.
Right. But he was just dental, and he was. Him and his buddy, and all they had were dental tools, were being shipped from one base to another. Right. And they were driving down the road, and it was just two dental assistants. And like Republican guards were surrendering to him like crazy, and he's like, "All I have is floss. I don't know how do I detain
I'm
these
just
people?"
part of the medic corps here.
We'll take your surrendering. I think the same thing will happen with China.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't. Japan invaded them twice. Occupied them.
Not well. Again, as I said, numbers don't necessarily matter.
Japan
and the CCP, they're masters at kind of copy and paste, if you will. So they don't create anything. They don't have the understanding and the technology to create things. They try to duplicate or copy things. And it's kind of like, I could make a cardboard cutout of my house, but it's not the same thing as my house. They try to copy and paste things, but if you don't have the know-how and the technology behind it, it's not going to work. So
I agree. Good video. Good video. Things to think about. India, you're going to win this. No doubt about it. We'll catch you guys later. Peace and much love.
Bye, friends.
Hello, guys. This is Kareem. I hope you're doing well. And as you know, the professor has resisted Patreon for a long time. But now is the time for Movie Community College to offer Patreon. And you may be asking, why now? Well, for several reasons. One, we want to make documentaries, and those have a cost to them. Two, we want to make short films, and those also will have a cost to them as well. Three, we're going to take legal action, all the proper precautions to do reaction videos. So if you're excited about this and you want to get some amazing swag from Movie Community College and some awesome rewards, then definitely help support Movie Community College by checking out that Patreon link below this video.
Hey, this is Sonal. Please like and subscribe to Movie Community College and do check out my channel, The String Theory, for some amazing sitar videos.